Hello, this is Malorian, and this is going to be another Warhammer Fantasy Battle Report. It's going to be Game 6 of the Bretonnian Campaign for me. Once Ben and Anthony have already done theirs, I need to catch up here. And luckily, I got to have a game with Kieran Dunleavy. I've been having trouble getting a game, and now Kieran Dunleavy, who has his own channel, does all the great-looking high elves and the conversions. We're going to have a game, and hopefully I can pick up some virtues, because at this point, I need to catch up. So what I'm doing in this game here is, again, I'm going to go for 3 basically every time now so I can catch up, is I'm going for the Virtue of the Knightly Temper. And for this one here, you have to join them in a unit of Knights of the Realm. You have to, what it gives you is an extra wound every time, or an extra attack every time you do a wound. And the thing you have to do as well is get 4 wounds on the charge. So you have to be charging into infantry. Another one I'm doing on another lord is the Impetuous Knight. And this one, what it gives you is an extra d6 to your first charge, which is pretty awesome. But you have to join Knights Errant, and you have to always charge if possible. So at least there, as long as I always declare charges, I'm good to go. The last one will be on my BSB, and for that one there, I'll be going for the Virtue of Stoicism. And basically that one there is you get to re-roll a break test. He's a BSB, so it doesn't matter anyway. But you can't have a Crown of Command, which I never take anyway. And then you can't break from combat. So pretty much, again, if I just don't break, it's all good times. This is going to be against High Elves, though, and he has more flying nasty things than I expected. So let's see what happens. All right, so first let's look at the armies here from left to right. We are going to have this weird lighting coming in from the side here, but hey, let's pretend it's like dawn or something. I don't know. But really here, he has his Reavers here in the front. He has his one Phoenix there, a big, huge unit here of the Sea Guard, Repeater Bolt Thrower, and then he actually has an Anointed on a Phoenix. And, you know, that's going to make it so he's going to keep on coming back. Next over here, you can see he has some Archers. And then he really has this Knight bust. It's kind of neat because he actually deploys it kind of like Bretonnians as well. Because really the way it goes is that because you get now 2 supporting ranks, you know, most of these guys are attacking anyway. And the biggest deal here is going 3 wide is that now his front rank is all command so that his level 2 is safe in the second rank. Meanwhile, he has his BSB in the front and he has another Phoenix here. On my side here, I got the Questing Knights. Then I have my Knights Errant, and these guys are just plain, no banner, no nothing fancy. Then over here, you can see my block of 5 Knights. Then my Grail Knights there in the back. My Knights of the Realm, and there I'm going to have my one Knightly Temper Lord, because he has to be joined with them. Oh, sorry, this is Knights Errant, so that's going to be, sorry, the Impetuous one. Then next to that, with my BSB and the Lord with the Knightly Temper, that's the one that's in the Lord, Knights of the Realm. And then finally on this one flank, another 5 Knights. So overall, the board looks like this. So we got some funky terrain going on here. The little thing here on the left, this is actually this one town here, the Settlement of Order, and there is a Dwarven brew house. That's the stone building with the straw top there. This bunch of bones in the front there, kind of like the side of it between the walls. That's a charnel pit. Back by his Phoenix there with the Anointed, that's actually the magical portal. The light tower, what is this? The Elven Waystone. That's what the lighthouse is in the middle right. And then we got a couple of hills on the right side as well. So probably the biggest thing that'll be the biggest effect on the game is going to be the Dwarven Brew House and then maybe that Charnel Pit, kind of depending. But for the most part, the main thing is when I looked at this, I was really worried about all the flyers because I have no shooters and he can just completely just outclass me, fly around, and just charge in whenever he wants. So that's not going to be good. And then the big thing I have to really watch out for is I was really happy that he spread out here because I think the biggest threat to me is if he was to charge multiple of them in at one time. Because the one thing I do have is I will be steadfast. And I think that because he can't thunderstomp and I'll have the blessing, that there's a good chance I can make them lose by combat res if there's only one. So that's what I'm going to be trying to do there. But in the end, the main thing I'm trying to do is get off my virtues here. So of course my Knights of the Realm, where I have the Knightly Temper who has to do 4 wounds in the charge, I really want to get them into that Sea Guard, and otherwise, yeah, I'm just going to be always charging with my Knights Errant, and I'm really hoping he actually doesn't think of how long my charge is and gives me something here. First thing here, the little portal here does a fireball and kill some archers, so that's always nice. And then after his first turn, it looks like this. Now, here's something else I should talk about for this first turn here, and really just what we're going to be doing. The mission for this game is actually going to be one of the missions for the tournament we're going to next week. This is the Grand Tournament of Alberta. His list is actually practicing for that. And really what they did is they took every mission from the main 6, because it'll be a 6-game tournament, and then slightly change it. So this is the variation on battle line. And really what you do, sorry, is at the start of every game turn, you roll the artillery dice, and you take that number and times it by 3. It's basically fog. And what you have for that amount, so you can see here we rolled an 8, that means your units can only see 24 inches to charge, to shoot, to cast magic, and if you get a misfire, then there's no fog at all. So that's really going to be affecting what he can actually do here. He'd like to do some magic first turn, but he didn't want to get that close, and 24 inches is kind of an issue, so there you have it. There's no shooting, they couldn't see me, and that's pretty much first turn. Over here, yeah, basically I had 2 charges on my turn, and I failed them both. I was really hoping that one would go through the, with I get the extra D6 on my knights into his knights, because that would just be devastating, but, it was a long bomb charge. I failed it, no big deal. But this one is the risky one. Now you put this one Phoenix over here, and I figured this is probably one of my best chances to take it off. Just charge in there with the knights. Worst case scenario is I'm within 6 to be stubborn from the brew house. And hey, if I get lucky, maybe I can chase it off the board. If I don't get lucky, hopefully at least I can just hold him in place. And I do get lucky. He does nothing to me. Yeah, and I just run him down. I mean, I think from the magic phase here, he was also -1 strength, which helped my armor a little bit more. But yeah, I mean, this is such a huge boon. One of the Phoenixes down right away, and that's just awesome. Otherwise, it looks like this. I'm actually not doing too much because I'm waiting for some of his things to kind of dedicate to me. I don't want to just, like I said, I can't be setting myself up for multi-charges. So just a little bit of shuffling, and that's really it. I have no magic. So over here on turn 2, this is where the scenario is really going to come to play because we rolled a 2. So that means all these units can only see 6 inches, which really limits everything. Over here, the Reavers figure this is the best chance for them, so they charge in the flank, and that'll be some good combat res for them, and if they sink a couple of wounds, it's even better. Otherwise, the Flame Phoenix comes over here, tries doing some burning, and kills a couple of guys, so that's pretty good. At the end over here, yeah, we do nothing to each other. I'm able to hold because I'm stubborn, and then I'm able to turn to face, and now, yeah, now I know it's going to be going my way. Otherwise, end of his turn, it looks like this. He really just shuffled a little bit. I mean, the really nice thing that he had here is that even though he couldn't charge me with his knights, he now knows where he can put his knights and be safe. So this is kind of, I think, a little flaw in this mission, where whoever goes first really has that thing where they know exactly what the next of their opponent, what they'll be able to see, and they can deploy and move with that in mind. So that's kind of unfortunate, but I saw that the Phoenix on the right side, he didn't do anything. I really expected he'd be flying around somewhere mean, but yeah, the main thing, I just got this one Flame Phoenix right there beside me already. Alright, so for my turn here, there wasn't really too much I could do, so I'm really just setting up... okay, here's the whole idea. On the left side, we trade wounds and we hold. Now, what I'm trying to do here is I'm hoping I'm actually going to be able to see next turn. So I'm setting myself so that my Knights of the Realm can charge into the Sea Guard. He can't probably charge me unless he rolls high. If he charges me at the Flame Phoenix, I probably should have done a little bit different so as a flank, but I wanted to make sure he couldn't get to my characters. Meanwhile, I'll have 2 ranks, 2 banners, and hey, if he doesn't do very well, I might be able to break him. If nothing else, I can then turn around after. Otherwise, I move up the 1 throwaway unit of 5 knights just to redirect his knights, and hopefully my grails can counter. And then I also moved up my big knights errant there on the right side, right up to the Phoenix, hoping it charges me, and then I can counter. And if he just flies away, he has to worry about me maybe flanking his knights if he doesn't decide to move up. So really making it so that no matter what he does, I'm hopefully in a spot where I can counter. All right, so turn 3, we roll a 2 again. So again, you can only see 6 inches. And really, after everything is said and done, this is what it looks like. So we beat the Reavers on the left side, but hey, they're stubborn. He charges into the 5 knights, kicks their butt. He decides to reform, not to chase. And so my 1 knight gets away, but hey, he's just going to run off the board anyway. You can see the 1 Phoenix is going to my flank. The Fire Phoenix went into my rear. He actually, man, that Anointed has the Obsidian Blade, so he ignores armor saves, and that's kind of a big deal. So he killed a couple of knights, and this is where I felt kind of dumb, because I should have challenged with the champion just to reduce the amount of guys he killed, but really, it doesn't. I mean, at this point, if he killed 1, he took off a rank, so whatever. I'm steadfast, I turn around, and, well, yeah. Now, hopefully, after this, I can beat this guy. All right, so for my turn, this was really disappointing. Looking at the way it was before, I figured that my Knights Errant could get into the Knights here. And so I declare the charge. Everything looks like it's great. But because the 2 lances were so close to each other, I just could not wheel enough to make it a legit charge. So at the end of the day, it was a failed charge. And with me moving up, I'm just basically giving him a flank. So that really sucks. But yeah, what can you do? I really should have, when I reformed my knights on the left side, if I just would have scooted them a little bit more to the left, I would have been just fine. But I was trying to get a little bit farther away from the Sea Guard, and yeah, it just cost me a big charge. So after everything is said and done, hey, it's not too bad. I have the questing knights going around to try and deal with the archers. I'm still killing reavers on the left side. Probably the biggest thing you notice there is that his anointed and flame phoenix is dead, and that's because I took the challenge with my lord just to kind of really reduce the damage he could do. He actually did 2 wounds to my lord and really scared me, but I won with a ton of combat res. He broke, I ran him down, and there's that guy out of my face. Meanwhile, my Grail Knights and the other Knights Errant are just ready to counter charge, because really he can go into my Knights Errant, but at the end of the day, you know what? He has nothing to take away Steadfast. So I'm going to be Steadfast on Leadership 9, and I should be able to counter with everything else. So on his turn, that's what he does. Frost Phoenix and all the Knights go in, and this is going to hurt. He also rolled a big old 10, so yeah, you can see pretty damn far this time, good 30 inches. And the big thing I did over here to try and maybe kill off this BSB is I did a challenge with my Lord. I'm having the Silver Lance, so I'm having 4 auto hits. But it turned out after we start fighting that, first of all, I forgot that I'm going to be -1 strength because of the Phoenix. He actually has a Dawnstone, so he's going to basically have a 2+ rerollable save. And I guess if nothing else, I'm stopping the BSB from killing something else. So after everything's said and done, the Sea Guard go and reform to face the right so that they can shoot along with everything else into my questing knights, but he only was able to kill 1. His bolt thrower hit, but rolled a 1 to wound. I finally killed the last Reaver, and this is going to be critical because really after I held, like I was talking about with that main combat, and reformed the face, and I'll be countering, the biggest thing is that no matter what, this is going to be a bloody mess in the middle, and he has his Sea Guard right there. So what I need is for my knights to charge the rear of the Sea Guard. I'm going to lose in the long run, but all I need to do is hold them up for a turn or 2. So that's what I do. I make that charge, and I come over here. I also charge in the questing knights and to these guys here. However, they do have weapon skill 10 and initiative 10 from the sorceress portal, so that could be problematic. And in here, it's supercharge time. So I got the Knights Errant into the rear, the Grail Knights into the flank of the Knights, and yeah, I'm just going to be crushing these guys. Over here, yeah, the archers beat me because, you know, they go first, they killed a couple of guys, and then I only rolled 1-6, and so then in the day, he actually won, and I was just lucky to be able to hold. So I then was able to reform and, you know, just add a couple of horse attacks. But yeah, kind of embarrassing when your knights are being beaten by archers. Otherwise, everything looks like this. So the knights did go into the rear of his sea guard. One combat, he's steadfast, he turns around. This is exactly what I needed. The interesting thing that happened with his knights is they actually had the World Dragon banner thing. So he actually got a 2+ ward against all my Grail Knight attacks because they're all magical. So that's not something I planned on. But really at the end of the day, I just had so much combat res that he broke and I ran him down. The Grail Knights are now to the rear of his Phoenix. And you can see my other main lance there just turned around. His turn, we roll a 2 again. So really limiting, well, the shooting for the bolt thrower, that's one thing. And really all that happens here is that he crushes my knights on the left, wipes them out completely, and reforms to face me. I beat the Phoenix, and I run it down. And then over there, I finally beat his archers, because all that happened is the portal made him have like -1 armor when he had no armor. And but he held because he's steadfast. So overall, then, on the next turn here, on my turn, I'm really just going and getting, well, I beat the knights up, his archers, with my questing knights, run off the board, so that's cool. And again, I mean, I couldn't really charge in yet because my own lances were in the way. So really, I just got those lances marching away, so they're gone. And now these 2 lances are ready to go in. And all I need to do is get 4 kills with that Knightly Templar Lord, and then I can get that virtue too. On his last turn, we roll a 4, so I can't see him anyway because we're only looking 12 inches. And basically, he just backs up, and that's the game. So at the end of the day, I was able to get 2 of my virtues. My one knight charged all the time whenever he could, so I get the virtue of the Impetuous Knight. I got the Virtue of Stoicism because that unit never broke and was in combat. The one I did fail, though, is the Virtue of the Knightly Templar, where, hey, you know, what can you do? I got rear charged by a Flame Phoenix. I ran it down, but, yeah, you know, 2 virtues are pretty good. So looking at the totals here after 6 games, Anthony is now in the lead with 8 virtues, and then actually me and One's Bitten are tied at 6. So, you know, given all the things that have happened so far, it's still a pretty tight race. So it's not too bad. I'm pretty amazed. I'm right there in the mix of it. And, you know, I'm just going to have to keep on going with it, going for 3 every time. So yeah, victory for the Bretonnians, and got 2 virtues out of 3, so that's pretty damn awesome. You know, tied for 2nd place in the whole campaign. But really looking at the game, really there's one thing that we talked about, me and Kieran, after, about the whole idea that it really wasn't fair with the whole fog thing. Really to be, I mean, I understand. Okay, here's the thing. What it probably should be is you roll on every player turn. Now, the reason why they do it every game turn is to make it fair, because the same thing is going to be applying to both people. You don't want to be always rolling 2s for the one player and the other guy always misfires so there's no fog. You don't want that imbalance happening. However, at the same way, the way it's designed, it's not fair because the person who goes first will already know, like obviously they don't know what's going to be when they start, so they can't set up the turn prior. However, once they already have that, they know mathematically exactly how far the opponent can see, and they can really play with that. So unfortunately, because of that, I really think it should be rolled every player turn, but hey, it is what it is. As far as the game goes, I think the real thing in here is that he had just had no way to break steadfast. I mean, the Sea Guard was being kind of cautious because they didn't want to take multiple lance charges, but apart from that, there was nothing to take steadfast away. the knights, whether they were 3 or the 4 wide after they kind of reformed after beating me, neither one took it away. And it's one of those things where, I mean, they could have gone 5 wide, but even then, it would be forcing the wizard to the front, which he didn't want to have happen. And the other thing is, too, that if he did that, he'd only have, what, 2 ranks if I didn't kill anything, and I have multiple ranks. Even that would have taken Steadfast away. So I think really what needed to happen for the Hiles to win this is really all 3 flyers would have to work together to really smash in there and do lots of wounds. Taking away that Thunderstomp was just massive. Now, granted, that one fight on the one flank where my 5 knights beat a Phoenix, that mathematically probably shouldn't have happened. But hey, it did. And I mean, sometimes you take a risk, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And this really helped me in this game because, I mean, overall, that unit of 5 knights beat a Phoenix, beat the Reavers, and then critically held up the Sea Guard, right? If that Sea Guard gets into that combat in the middle, all of a sudden things start turning around really quickly. But thanks to them, they stalled it. Now, another thing to talk about in this game here, too, is where I had no magic and he had a level 2, and yet the only magic that did anything was the Sorcerer's Portal. Stupid archers beating my knights. But anyway, the big thing here is that at the end of the day, he couldn't really cast any spells because he had, what was it, Soul Quench and the Fiery Conflagration one. But hey, when you can only see 6 inches, what can you do? And then the one time he could actually see far, he goes to cast and he fails the cast, and there you go. So, yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where the mission kind of makes it so that long-range shooting and long-range magic really kind of suffers. But either way, we both had a lot of fun, had a couple of drinks, and there you go. So if you like watching it, bye.